Good afternoon
or good evening.
It's ReaLAWstate with Patti and Kate, and I'm sorry, woo, woo. We are so excited to be here with you. We were just talking about our very full weekends, and this truly has become a highlight of my weekend.
Yeah.
And I came back from Vermont to make sure I was here on time.
Such a well, I can't say that.
Right. And I even took a shower because I was, Vermont is dirty.
I know. She looks so good when you clean.
That's what she said. You look good. I'm like, I'm clean. Don't get too used to it. Anyways, I'm wearing yellow tonight for a special honorary reason. Would you like to know why?
Yes, I would like to know why.
Because we're talking about selling the sun.
Selling the sun.
Yes. So I thought I would just symbolically bring the sun to us, and so that we can shed some light on the subject.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Well, Patti is going to be our token expert here tonight. And so I will be asking most of the questions, and she's going to be taking it away with that. This is a really good one for you guys to watch once and then watch again and again, because we're going to be talking about some really important subjects and topics. And, it's very dense with information. And, you may not think that you need it, or you think you may have it, and then there might be something that comes up in either your life if you're a consumer, one of our tribe, or it would be if you are a realtor or in the business, then it might be something that you're coming up against. And hopefully you can learn from our experience.
And just kind of on that note is we've been downloading and then uploading onto YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel for Bold Real Estate, putting all our videos there, trying to make sure we get them properly tagged. Right. So if you're looking in the future about solar, what did they talk about on solar? You can go and replay it.
YouTube. Just Google us and you'll find it. It's ReaLAWstate. And we'll also be throwing them out onto LinkedIn too, because I think that it's just a great message. So we're going to try to create once and reproduce everywhere. Anyway, so Patti.
Yes.
So tell me what the process is if somebody wants to purchase a home that has leased solar panels, because this is the biggest thing that we hear, and this is where most of the experience with solar comes in. Yeah. And that there's leased panels, and the sellers are always like, these are great. They're gonna love these, and I'm like, oh, right. So anyway, so let me just start with you. Walk us through it.
Well, I mean, there's so many misconceptions about solar, and people get nervous about it, and once they're in it, though, like you said, the sellers tend to love it because they're getting either a reduced or no electric payment. And isn't that lovely when your ACs are going?
Yes, exactly. Right.
So there was a time, there was a big surge, especially in this area, where you saw all the salesmen door to door, knocking on your door, leaving pamphlets, wanting to know if you want to sign up for solar.
Yes, yeah.
You have a choice of either buying them or you could lease them. So if you purchased them, you had them installed, and there was no contracts to sign regarding ongoing lease payments, etc. So
now, were they kind of like a loan though? Did they give you a loan on that, or
it depends. Like anything, you could pay cash for it, or you could get a loan on it. But most people went the lease route
because they didn't want to buy them.
Because they didn't want, because it was a big investment.
Yes.
I know I had looked into it myself. I think they quoted me like $20,000.
Right. I only know
a lot of electric payments.
I only know of 2 people who have purchased them.
Oh, really?
Out of all of the people that I know that are in them. Yeah. And only 2 of them purchased them. And everybody else is leasing.
Big investment. So most people are leasing, and when they do that and they sign that contract, what the solar company does, because they want to make sure you're not running off with their solar panels, is they are having you sign a lease, and then they're putting what we call a UCC, a Uniform Commercial Code lien on the property. So all it is a one-page statement. It's not something you're signing. It's just something the company puts on there. And it's actually not a lien on your real estate. It's a lien on the panels. But the panels are affixed to your house, become a fixture. So therefore, it's a problem when the buyer goes to get a mortgage. They want to make sure there's no liens on the property at all.
Right. And I just want to quickly share a little story on this, and just a quick one, is that sometimes they don't show up on the registry of deeds. And if you are not taking out a mortgage on the property, so if you, in the case of our experience was, it was a purchase with cash, and so when they checked the registry, there was nothing about the solar panels there.
Yeah.
And so there was hit a little bit of a jackpot.
Right. So there's so many different solar companies, and they're being bought out. In fact, I think Tesla owns some of them now. So
well, Tesla is like, wait till you see how cute the shingles are that Tesla is making.
Oh boy.
A small fee.
Oh, Tesla, you get enough. But anyway,
Yes.
so if it's not recorded at the Registry of Deeds, because they're run by human beings, sometimes they make a mistake. They could also file the lien at the Secretary of State's office. There's a bunch of UCC filings there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So really, when somebody's doing a title search, they should be searching all of it, especially in today's day and age, because with solar being such a hot topic, that they really should be checking all possible places for those types of liens.
And and so again, so now I'm gonna put on the real estate agent hat, okay? And that hat is to make sure that if there are solar leases on the property, that you have your buyer, if you're the buyer agent, read it in its entirety and be okay with it, and also set up whatever the arrangements are going to be for you taking over the lease.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, again, she just said there's a lot of solar companies out there, and there's a lot of different negotiable items on that lease. Which, by the way, for you people thinking of solar, call Patti and ask her, have some legal representation from her on that lease, because there's a lot of negotiable items.
Yeah, when you're first getting into. So if you're the buyer and there's an existing lease, not so much negotiable. But if you're thinking about going solar for yourself, there are many points that are negotiable, even though it's a standard looking contract. And some of I've had clients come in, I've sent them right back out the door. I'm like, do not sign this. And if you do sign it, don't come back and complain to me, because this is atrocious. This is not a good deal. But when you're in the beginning process and you got a lease, absolutely, you should have an attorney look at it. And if they know anything about solar leases, they can at least point you in the right direction.
Yes. I know of one example that Patti and I were talking about. And actually, I had the bad story and she had the good story. So my bad story was that these people needed to repair their roof and the panels were on. So they had to, because of the way that their terms of their contract was, they had to pay about like $2,000 to get them taken off, get the roof repaired, pay another $2,000 to get them back on. Yeah. And I was telling Patti this story, and Patti's like, "Oh no, I negotiated that out." Like, so that wasn't the case.
That's one of those standard clauses. They just have that in there, and if you don't know it's into there,
because it doesn't
you don't understand. Yeah. And I had a client once who, she was going to sell her property. Solar came up talking about the new buyer, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, there's a lien on there. I need the contact information for your company so we could talk about coordinating the closing date. She said, there's no lien on my property. I said, are you sure? So I look at the registry. Sure enough, the UCC is there. Yeah. And so I'm talking to her, and I said, I'm looking at the registry right now. I can see it. There is a lien on your property. She goes, they told me they wouldn't. I said, well, did they put that in writing? The woman had a screenshot of her conversation in text with the solar company where it said, no, there'll be no lien on your property. And of course they spelled it L-E-A-N and not L-I-E-N. Yes. So I guess there was no lien on the property, but there was a lien on the property. Oh, so she was ticked off, to say the least, but that's a whole nother can of worms. So you really want to make sure that you understand the code. Don't take everybody's word for it.
So, here's the thing is, like, we're talking about some of the pitfalls out there. I mean, obviously, we want alternative energy.
Yeah.
And we are pro alternative energy and finding ways to make it useful for you.
Yeah.
One of the things we want to do, though, as your fiduciaries, as I always say, like, fiduciary is an item of trust. So if you're working with Patti, you're working with us, whatever, we want to make sure we're taking care of you, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the solar companies, they're for-profit companies. So even though they're providing a great service, they are also trying to make every dime they can on it. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, and it doesn't make them evil. It just makes them a corporation.
And back to that lien thing, that story, is one of the experiences I have found is that, she said they've been getting bought and sold quite frequently, is that company that entered into that agreement may no longer be there.
Correct.
Right. And so this is also the question mark that comes up, and we'll talk hopefully about it a little bit, about solar panels on land, is that they're like, oh yeah, they'll come and get them. It's like, if they're still in business in 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's a question mark that is, that is worth finding out about?
Well, I've also negotiated quite a few land solar deals. Those are much more intensive, and we always try to make sure, we always make sure there is a clause in there where there is some type of bond. So the bond is put up, so when 20 years from now, when this company has gone out of business, gone bankrupt, they've sold them, whatever the case may be, there is a bond in place so the landowner can remove the panels, have that paid for. It's not out of pocket. So
That's
very
awesome.
important
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah. But one of the things I also want to talk about too with the, as we're talking about our fellow realtors, is the fact that if you have a listing, you go there, you see the panels on the roof, is before you even get it on the MLS, make sure you understand the process, because I'm thinking the homeowners tell you a lot of things they think they know, and maybe they don't know all the details, but make sure you have all the paperwork, make sure you've reached out to the solar company, because there's very standard transfer agreements now. I mean, it's so streamlined than it was compared to a couple of years ago. So get that ahead of time, and then make sure that is, you know,
and have an attorney look at it though. Make sure you understand what you're getting into.
True.
You know, because this is short money for what could be big headaches.
Yes.
You know, and anyway, what else you got on your list, girl?
Well, I want to make sure that if you have the buyer, make sure that these purchase and sale agreement is contingent on the buyer being approved. So most of these solar companies are saying, all right, we have no problem transferring the lease to the next buyer if they pass our financial test. So, which it's not a very encompassing process, but there's certain thresholds you have to make with a credit report.
So I one of the ones that I have as a story is like 700 plus. For FICO. So, you know, that could be a lot for somebody. You know, and it also, if you have a mortgage and it's, you know, going to be whatever, it's
well, so it's the conundrum, right? So the solar company doesn't approve you. So they're like, well, we're not going to take our lien off the property and transfer it to the next person. But that buyer is trying to get a mortgage, and that mortgage company says, well, we're not giving you the money unless there's a clean, you know, title with no liens. So what do you do?
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, the other thing that is coming up is I have heard stories, and you can talk to the legal part of this, of where the seller keeps the solar on the roof of the house that they had, gets the solar juice put to their new house, and the panels stay on their old house. So I know, right? You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up. So, and depending whether or not you like the look of solar panels, most people are like, well, I mean, it's different, right? And so I think we've all gotten used to it, but still some people are like, I don't want those on my roof. Now imagine they're on your roof, and now you don't even get the benefit of a reduced electric payment.
I know. Well, that's actually the story about the not getting the credit score. I'm like, do they want the solar anymore? You know, like, do they want to get, like, you know, I thought that as one of the possible options, because that's what I've heard before. Like, they're still getting their solar power. Actually, that's another thing. Make sure you're getting your solar benefits if you are the buyer.
I know. I actually had a very honest seller call my office not too long ago. He said, oh my God, I don't know what to do. He said, I'm looking at my electric bill at my new house, and it's so small. We've been running our new lovely central AC, but how can my electric bill be so low? Well, because the company, even though the new buyer of the old house had been approved, the company just didn't get around to crediting the right electric company. And so he was like, oh no. So they worked out a deal to get it all solved. So, but those are the things that can happen. And what happens if the buyer doesn't get approved, and then the seller buys the new house, and they can't take the new credits because they're outside of the district for that particular solar company or electric company. Sometimes that happens. So now you have the electric companies just getting richer because nobody's taking these discounts. So tricky business. You really want to make sure.
So this is one, as I say, like, a little bit of money to your attorney will go a long way. And I just know that when we talk about this, we have our stories, it sounds like Patty's heard them all.
I've heard it all.
So I want to just close up with a story for my realtor friends. Okay. And if you do have a land parcel that you're putting on the market, and it's more than 2 acres or something, it may be a very good idea to have an exclusive right to sell and also an exclusive right to lease as agreements, okay? Because, you know, we're thinking, like I was thinking at different times, like subdivision this, la la la, you know, and if it goes to solar and that seller decides to lease it to solar, you know, you are very well possibly out of your commission because it is not exclusive right to sell.
Right.
And, you know, one of the things that I have learned is that, you know, we as realtors, we follow a code of ethics, you know, but the solar companies aren't bound to our code of ethics, and they don't have to do what we would do. And so, you know, you want to protect yourself, and you want to be savvy out there and just say, like, if you're looking at a bigger parcel of land, ding, I need another piece of paperwork. Brokers out there, make sure you follow this with your salespeople, you know, because we want this to be a win-win-win-win-win all the way around.
Of course.
That everybody's happy.
Right. And you have to know, and sometimes you don't know until it's too late.
Oh,
so,
yeah, you know.
Which is how we learn all these stories.
Right? Anyway, so let's finish with a happy story about solar.
A happy story?
Yes.
What's a happy story?
Tesla's shingles.
Oh,
you guys got to go look them up. They're gorgeous. You know, and so I think that the future of solar is going to be all of the shingles that go onto new builds. Oh, look at those hearts coming up. Yeah, you guys have seen them, right? So they're little shingle, they're the size of regular shingles. They do the same as a solar panel as far as its voltage or whatever it goes by, whatever that
I wonder what the cost is there.
Oh, yeah. They're expensive now, right? They're expensive now, but this is the future. So it's always expensive when you start. And then as you go down the road and you have your knockoffs and other people get them, the price comes down. And they look like shingles, and they're really pretty. So if you guys are geeks like I am, go and Google Tesla solar shingles. And that's why they're buying up all these things, because they're going to convert them at some time.
Well, I hope they make them faster than they make their cars.
Burn! All right. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I know this was a heavy one, you know, but it's so important. As I told you, it was going to be very content dense, right? And so watch this one, rewatch this one. As she says you can also find it on YouTube in a few days and on LinkedIn probably tomorrow, so that we will kind of and share this out. You know how to share? Do you guys know how to share? Yeah. Right? So when you look at it and there's like a little arrow that goes share, you can share it. If you're on your phone, you can swipe one way or the other. I don't know which way to swipe. I think it's to the left. It's either to the left or to the right. So you can share it. You can just swing it out there. Yeah. Oh, God. She's up and down his Instagram, I think. Anyway, so we will see you guys next week. And if you have any questions, please feel free. I see some, you know, right now I have it on blind. We don't see who's on with us. So listen, my friends, we appreciate the hearts, the thumbs up, everything. We appreciate you being here with us. Yeah. And hopefully we can add some value to your profession. And
as always, if there's a topic that you want to get a little bit of tidbits, just throw it in the comments and we'll incorporate it. And
yeah, absolutely.
We were like, oh my gosh, we haven't talked about solar
it's
yet.
Friday. Yeah. Like, it's Friday. What do you want to talk about on Sunday? So anyways, you guys are awesome, and we shall see you next week. Be bold
and get it sold.
Mm-hmm.